Salutations, my friends. I am TheMightyMander, and welcome back to another, little thoughts video on like a new game that's just been coming out recently. And today it's going to be Prey. Prey was developed by Arcane Studios under parent company of Bethesda Softworks, ZeniMax, all those guys. And the studio is the same people who made Dishonored. And I've only played a little bit of the first Dishonored. I haven't played Dishonored 2 yet. I have both of them. I really should get to playing those, but that's a project for another day, because today I'm playing Prey. Prey is a sort of reboot, just a new entry in a franchise that was sort of discontinued. They had the one entry back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, I think. Basically was like Portal before Portal, as far as my understanding goes. I never played it, but I heard it was a really, really solid, very, very inventive, unique first-person shooter, and so that, coupled with the initial trailers for the new Prey, really got me interested in the game. Very into a sci-fi horror setting. That's something that I could really get into. You guys know me on this channel by now. You know I love sci-fi. That's my jam. Let's talk about the game. Basically, it is kind of like Bioshock in space. It was almost marketed as that, which is a little weird, but yeah, it never really hid from that identity. Like it didn't hide from the fact that it was influenced by Bioshock, and you can tell that when you play the game. Like, it is very, very similar to Bioshock. And some might say that this is a bad thing, and if you are turned off by a game that doesn't hide its influences very well, then that may put you off. But with my predilection towards sci-fi, and just with the quality of this game in general, I find it even more compelling than any Bioshock game that I played. I played about a third of the first game, and I played Bioshock Infinite, and both were fantastic, but like, I'm really, really liking Prey as well. So a little bit of background on the story. You play as a worker for a company called TranStar, a sort of like a... What the fuck does TranStar even do? Like, they're just a research and development company. Like, they look into, like, scientific advancements, I guess? I don't really know. You learn more about the company as the game goes on, and I'm not actually that far in the game yet, but you play as one of the higher-ups on that company named Morgan Yu. Morgan, you can either be a male or female, depending on what you choose at the beginning of the game. Very clever way that they did that, by the way. The opening chapter of this game is very, very memorable. I'm not going to give away details, because if you want to experience that for yourself, I'm not going to spoil that experience for you. But basically, you go through the tutorial, which is framed as like, your character going through like cognitive testing. You go through the tutorial thinking one thing, and then the game pulls the rug out from under you in a big bad way, and it lets you loose in a huge, wide open space station called Talos 1. Basically, it is like sort of, it looks like it's in orbit maybe around the moon. When you go to an area in Talos 1 that has windows, and you can see out into the exterior, you can see into space, you can see Earth in the distance, and you can see the moon right there close to you. So I'm assuming that it's in orbit around the moon. I have no idea how far I am into the main story, but I'm guessing I've still got a long way to go and a bunch of crazy plot twists to expect. If it was really inspired by Bioshock, then there's definitely going to be some twisty turns along the way there. I would argue that this game's biggest strength is the palpable atmosphere that it creates. Not only in aesthetic design, it's not only in sound design, it's not only in gameplay design. Everything comes together to create a very unique, distinct atmosphere. It seems like the world within the cover of an old sci-fi novel. That's basically what I get out of it. Like a space station, research station in orbit, taken over by little blur-like shape-shifting aliens who broke out of their containment and are slowly killing everyone on the station, and you wake up as the lone survivor. It's a unique take on some classic sci-fi tropes, and the themes, the underlying themes of corporate greed, and the danger of humanity thinking it's indestructible, stuff like that. It's all over the place, all over the story, all over the little lore bits that you get from reading computers and such. This game does share a lot of similarities with Bioshock, gameplay-wise. I always stick with the fucking wrench. Just like Bioshock, it gives you a wrench really early on, and that's your, your trusty fucking whack everything melee weapon. You get a shotgun, you get a pistol, you get a really, really awesome weapon called the glue cannon, as well as a bunch of other stuff that I haven't even gotten to yet. It's a stun gun, there's something called the Q-beam, which I have no idea what that is. Bunch of grenade charges, EMP charges, stuff like that. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff in this game. Then you have these the things called neuromods, which are, this game's, like, if we're throwing the Bioshock comparisons out there again, these are sort of like the Vigor systems, but they're like, they're sort of like, not the Vigors, what are they called in Bioshock 1? Plasmids. That's what they are. Neuromods are kind of like plasmids in the way where you can use them to get crazier abilities, but it's not quite as simple as that. The neuromods are your entire upgrade system. You can use them to upgrade your abilities as well as get new abilities, like, you know, the crazy stuff like mimicking different objects like you see in the trailers, and a bunch of crazy shit that I have no idea about yet. Better combat effectiveness, hacking computers, repairing terminals, the ability to pick up and fabricate more stuff. Like the amount of player choice is pretty impressive with the neuromod system. I like the neuromod system, and I like the other mechanics. I like the crafting and the fabricating using those machines that you find all around the station. The way you have to not only maintain your health, but also the integrity of your suit, which you can do by finding or crafting suit repair kits, or finding one of 3 types of operators, these little floating robots that can fill those bars to maximum. When you interact with them, they're sort of there as like it almost feels like a save point. There's a quick save system in this game, but when you get to something like that, and you know, you're like, your suit integrity's compromised, so you're taking way more damage than usual. If you find an engineering operator and repair your suit, it's just like, oh, okay, I can take a breather now. As creepy and as tense as this game can get in its combat encounters, it definitely gives you a lot of slower, contemplative moments to just sort of catch your breath and sort of take in the world as well. I like the inventory management, which is probably more forgiving than similar systems in games like Resident Evil, but, you know, still a decent enough challenge, still contributes to the sort of action survival horror world that this game is going for. Gameplay is a bit slow and a bit clunky, but as I understand, I'm not really much of a horror game guy, but this is a characteristic of a lot of horror games. And it adds a layer of challenge. You know, if you look at it as being slow and clunky, then that's gonna make you think one way. But if you think of it as just characteristic of the person you're playing as, like, Morgan Yu is not an unstoppable super soldier like in Doom, you know? Like, you're going through a space station killing a bunch of, I have no idea what they are yet, but they're fucking crazy alien demons. But you're not this crazy fucking vengeance-fueled super soldier. You're just Morgan Yu. Like, I don't even know entirely who Morgan Yu is yet, but I know he or she is not the most capable person on the face of the earth. Basically, what that does is it forces you to be deliberate in every move that you make, along with the sound design, the excellent sound design in this game. I can't stress that enough. It makes every encounter with a larger enemy, you know, you've got your smaller enemies like mimics, the mimics that just like hide as like chairs and fucking keyboards and coffee mugs and shit all around the station. They're annoying, but they're pretty easy to take out, especially if you have good aim with the glue cannon, because you can just lock them in place and just whack them. But with a larger enemy, once you get to the larger enemies, they're not as easy to kill. They have more attacks, and each encounter with them is fucking tense and horrifying. It's unpredictable. You have to use stealth to your advantage. You have to hide if you really want to survive. Especially if there's more than one. Jesus Christ. When you get more than one phantom on your ass at one point, it's terrifying. You guys know me, I'm willing to work with a game to let it do what it wants to do. Like, if a game wants to scare me, I'm very, not always consciously, but willing to let it scare me. So, like, when I see a phantom there, and I'm like, you know, especially if like I'm out of med kits or something, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, it gets really, really tense. This game is definitely difficult, but because the difficulty helps, you know, add to the tension and, you know, the scares, but it doesn't seem to be soul-crushingly difficult. This game is not out to get you. Like, everything in it is out to get you, but the game is not designed to piss you off. Like, every once in a while, what I've found is that I'll find a place with an enemy that I just can't beat for the life of me. This enemy is just too big, too scary, I don't know what it is yet, and I can't fucking beat it. But that doesn't mean that I'm playing the game wrong, it just means I'm in the wrong place. Like, you know, it might be the right place for you to go a few hours from now, but, you know, you just gotta prepare for the fight more, or you gotta go somewhere else and see if you can find a way to weaken it. Like, that's the thing about this game, is it's super, super non-linear. You know, you can't just do whatever you want. There has to be some linearity to a game like this, but there's multiple ways to tackle every problem. You know, there's hidden routes, there's shortcuts, you can solve a problem by hacking, or by using the mimic ability, or by finding another way around. Like, there's just a million ways to solve every problem. And I really appreciate that. Like, I appreciate a game that is just sort of letting me loose to solve my own problems. Yeah, I don't know, like, I just have a lot of fun exploring the space station in this game. Like, you know, and that's because I really appreciate a game with a convincing atmosphere, and this game definitely has that. Like I said, you'll find an enemy you can't beat, but it just means that it'll be the right place for you to be a few hours from now, or when you're a little stronger. But there's no shame in running away from a fight in this game. It's a horror game, but there's still, like, you know, there's horror elements in there, so there's no shame in running away from an enemy that you can't beat, because you will encounter one every once in a while. The game doesn't hold your hands, you know, all the hints as to where to go or what to do next, they're all contextual, they're all in the world. Like, you have to look at what people said to each other, or, you know, find out where a certain code is to unlock a door. Like, the game will tell you, but it only ever holds your hand, so to speak, if you reach out and, you know, ask it to. You know, you can review clues, you can look at the map, try and map out your route, or, you know, read some objective hints if you're lost, but you don't need to do any of that. Like, the clues are all there. You can just look at a computer and it'll say, like, oh, this guy had a key card on him when he went to the trauma center or whatever, and so you're like, okay, I need to go to the trauma center, get this guy's key card so I can come back and open this door. And once you get there, it'll be like, oh, this guy's body was moved to another place, and oh, now that area is like, you know, there was a vacuum breach, and now you gotta go to the exterior of the ship. Like, there's a whole, like, it leads you down a rabbit hole similar to how Bioshock did. But each area of the ship seems to be distinct enough, or, you know, at least straightforward enough, so that you won't get outrageously lost, as long as you pay a little bit of attention to where you're going and where you are in relation to something else. Because, like I said, the clues are all there. You just have to look. Like I said, it's all contextual, all in audio logs and in emails. God, there's so many emails. Every terminal has like 18,000 emails to look through. But it all makes perfect sense. You know, it all fits within the little world that they've created that is Talos 1, this crazy space station doing crazy shit. And, you know, seeing that world destroyed, all of its inhabitants reduced to gray, featureless corpses, and, you know, full of mysteries to solve. Arcane has created a really, really great game here. I really like this game. I've played 3 big games this year so far. Horizon Zero Dawn, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Prey. All 3 are really fucking good. I know Mass Effect is a little bit like meh, but that's like, I still love it. But this game's really fucking good. And I mean, that's pretty much all I got. Like, I would definitely recommend that you pick up this game if you are a fan of Bioshock, if you're a fan of sci-fi horror, if you're a fan of choice-driven, first-person adventure games, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, then I would definitely recommend that you pick up Prey. And, you know, that's all I got. Do I gotta do the 3 things that I like about this game? And is this a review? You know, I haven't really been pissing on it like I did with Enslaved, so I'm not sure if I have to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Well, just 3 little things that I like about Prey. I like the glue cannon. I like the diversity of the environments, you know, because, like, even in this little space station, look, it all looks like it's part of the same world, but so far there have been multiple different environments, each with its own distinct, you know, flavor. And the sound design in this game is fucking awesome. All those little sci-fi sound effects that you get when you pick up stuff, sound effects that go off during a combat encounter that help to make the enemies so much scarier. I'm just thinking, like, a mimic would just be a stupid little blobby spider. They wouldn't be nearly as terrifying if they didn't have the sound design to go along with it. And the soundtrack helps to give it that atmosphere. You know, it's like very, you know, it's like synthesized, very like do 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 do. Like it's classic sci-fi, and it all helps to give it that very distinct flavor. And yeah, I really like this game. Let me know what you think about this game or any other game that you're playing down below in the comments. Subscribe for more content from TheMightyMander. That's been me, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for joining me. Peace out, friends.